When was the last time that you were in the flow state? Losing myself by getting into the music has been my answer for everything. I had no idea why, but it's how I overcame obstacles like shyness and performance anxiety. It's how I found fulfillment in my work, and it's how I learned how to lead. Without the flow state, I never would have played my best as the concertmaster of the Central Oregon Symphony. So how does a musician get into the music? Most of us have a hard time describing it. We say things like, I feel it. It's like I'm singing. It just happens for me. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi coined this the flow state. It's an optimal state of mind when we feel our best and we perform our best. And we expect musicians, athletes, and yogis to be in flow. It's a way of life. Did you know that Thomas Edison had a pipe organ in his lab? That's how he got into it. Albert Einstein was not to be bothered on his daily walks. And Nikola Tesla insisted on squishing his toes 100 times a day. Have you ever been so focused and immersed that you lost all sense of time and you felt one with the activity? Maybe you were cooking, playing tennis, or lost in an Excel spreadsheet. How about a brainstorming meeting? Did you have ideas and insights that just came in from out of the blue? And how many problems have you solved in the shower? In each of these cases, you were in flow. Neuroscientists have discovered that in these moments, hormones are released, creating brainwaves conducive to the flow state. The neocortex amps up, dramatically increasing learning speed, and the prefrontal cortex temporarily shuts down. And this is why we lose a sense of ourself and a sense of time. Key indicators that we are in the flow state. These are the neurobiological conditions that make creativity and outstanding performance readily available. So this explains why, when I had shyness and performance anxiety, that getting into the music helped me to shed those inhibitions and to overcome those issues. It also explains why the more I get into the music, the better I play. And the better I play, the more I get into the music. It's a positive feedback loop. Another sign that we are in flow. We may think that the flow state is esoteric. It's for the elite. Nope, that is not true. This is your brain too. Being in the flow state brings out the best in all of us. So if we're all wired for this optimal state of being, you may be wondering, well, do I just have to sit around and wait for it to happen? Well, I had to ask myself the same question. As the first violinist, I've led hundreds of successful performances, except for one. And I was giving the pre-concert lecture, having a really good time, turned around, gave a big cue for the music to start, and my elbows were frozen. And it felt like an hour, but it was really only about a minute for me to regain the full use of my arms. But then there was a disconnect. I'm not putting any feeling into the music. It's as if I forgot how to get into it. That can't ever happen again. My first thought was I had a transition issue, going from playing the violin into speaking for the audience. But it wasn't. It was really about the shift from out of flow into the flow state. I had to find a way to shift into flow and to be able to do it on purpose. So after that concert that night, I'm sitting on the couch, feeling humiliated and grilling myself with questions. I do get into my flow state in a variety of places. It happens the most on stage. But what am I doing? Well, yeah, I'm playing the violin, of course, but that's what I'm doing on the outside. What am I doing on the inside? My friends would say, Diane, we're creating the music. Yeah, and I get it, but it feels more along the lines of giving. Actually, I'm sharing. I'm sharing the message of the music. Okay, well then what about those concerts when I'm moved to tears? It's like the flow state on steroids. It always happens at those audience sing-alongs. Something about a large group of people coming together through the music. Why is that so meaningful? Unity. That's what touches me to the core. The day that my elbows were frozen, all I could think of was just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. If I had known to focus on sharing and creating unity, I bet I could have gotten into the music. Well, there is nothing like the sting of embarrassment to give you a kick in the pants. And after all this self-reflection, it ended up being a good thing. It's how I discovered my flow strategy. Sharing is how I shift into the flow state on purpose. Unity is how I can shift into it with purpose. Nobody has to wait for a lucky moment to get into their flow state and be the best version of themselves. Ask yourself, where am I when I'm in the flow state the most? What am I doing on the outside and on the inside? Why? Why is it so meaningful? Ask yourself, how do I shift into the flow state on purpose and with purpose? The whole reason why I went through all this to figure out my flow strategy had everything to do with sparing myself from future embarrassment. So it never occurred to me where else I could use it. After a few years, I had retired from the symphony. I was exploring a career change, and you know what that means. Networking. I was a fish out of water. It was so awkward trying to break into those conversations. And at one of these events, in the middle of it, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, isn't this an opportunity to share? And aren't these new connections unifying? And then I'm watching myself in the next conversation share with the same passion as I play the violin. I had no idea that by reframing my flow strategy, that it could help me out in a different place in a difficult situation. I was giving a workshop. It was on peak performance, and there was an attendee in the audience who's a manager who flat out refused to give the status report at the annual company-wide meeting. Fear of public speaking. Well, it turns out where he's in his flow state the most is bicycle racing. On the outside, he's wearing spandex, riding a super cool bike. But what he's doing on the inside is supporting the team. And that's what pulls the best out in him. It's the team synergy that fires him up and why he finds bike racing so meaningful. And knowing his flow strategy gave him a good reason to stand in front of 250 people and give the status report at the next annual meeting. He wanted to support his coworkers and to create team synergy. After a talk I had given to a room full of scientists, this woman beelined straight over and she says, "How is this going to help me in the boardroom?" And I just asked her, "Well, where are you in your flow state the most?" And of course, it was the lab. What she's doing on the outside is working with her hands, but what she's doing on the inside is discovering. She's making a contribution to the expansion of knowledge. It's so inspiring. So I just asked her, "Is there some way you can use your hands when you're in the boardroom?" And she's like, "Oh, I have a model I could bring in. I'll demonstrate. I will feel like myself." Understanding your flow strategy and using it as a tool, it's liberating. Repurposing how you get into flow means that you can take your best self with you anywhere. Everybody is wired for this. Discovering your flow strategy will give you the gift to shift so you could get into your life like a musician gets into the music on cue.